Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is just going to be more of a relaxing one. In case you can't tell, I am in my pajamas and my glasses are on, so I don't think I have worn my glasses in a video in years. So I have been wearing them a lot the past few days because I truly cannot read without anything on anymore, without them on anymore. So I apologize if you can see the glare. They are fogging up right there. I just cleaned them with the spray that you get, and oh my god, I haven't cleaned them with the spray in weeks, and it's amazing what you can see when you actually clean them. But I just basically can't read without them on anymore, and constantly taking them off to read and on to like off and on and off and on, because I'm not, if I just wear them all day, it's like where my bed frame is at the moment is sort of distorted, so taking them on and off gives me a headache. Anyway, my face was super oily, so I just got my powder and dusted it over my face. So that might be why my face is a bit pale and why my chin is really red and the rest of my face isn't. Anyway, today's video is going to be on me living with Hashimoto's disease. I last week did a video on my surgery, and I think over the next few weeks, I'm just going to be sort of doing videos on things that are going on with me so you guys can get an understanding where I come from, what has happened to me, things that have built me up to the person that I am today, because it's not necessarily the things that I have, the conditions I have, it's how people have treated me because of them. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. So this is what I have. I have a notebook. This whole sheet is information about Hashimoto's, and this is dot points on my experience. So I'm going to first go over the medical terminology and what Hashimoto's is and things like that, and then I will get into my experience, my symptoms, and what has happened with me over the past past 20 years nearly. Living with Hashimoto's is pretty hard. So it's an inflammation of the thyroid gland, which sits in your neck. If you are unaware, it sits in your neck. And Hashimoto's causes the thyroid to be really damaged. It causes it to function abnormally and things like that. Now, I have hypothyroidism, which means it has a very, very low function. Now there's hyperthyroidism, which is called Graves' disease as well, and that is when the function is too high. So sort of think of it as like a diabetic person when they have a hypo. O means low, hyper. When a child's very hyper as well, they're running around everywhere, they've got lots of energy, they're on overdrive. So think of it like that. It's the same with a diabetic person. When they are hypo, their blood sugar's low. When they are hyper, it's really high. So it's exactly the same thing with most other things, like hypothermia, hyperthermia, low and high temperatures, things like that. So it's exactly the same as nearly everything else. I have a very low thyroid function. The past few years it has been coming back fairly normal, but I am still experiencing the symptoms of it, and I will explain that in a little bit. It is an autoimmune disease, meaning it is a disease of the immune system. You have it for life. It can be controlled. It cannot be cured. So it is something like, you know, cystic fibrosis. The person may be essentially cured after a transplant and they figure out all their other issues, but they still have it. They will never be officially cured. There will still be some issues there. It's more like prolonging the life of the person rather than curing them. So things like diabetes is a autoimmune disease, type 1, not type 2. There is no cure for diabetes either. It's more insulin and things like that prolongs the life of the person and allows them to live. So that is exactly the same with Hashimoto's and Graves' disease and things like that. So it is an autoimmune disease. It's a disease of the immune system, which means it is genetic, and it affects 7 times more women than men. Every now and then you will find that your body will be strong enough to fix it, or it will level out for a while, sort of what they call remission. It's not like a cancer, but it's like your body goes into normal for a while. Well, it's exactly like with cancer. Your body goes back to normal for a while. It can be years, can be decades before it even happens. There is no official cure, but you can help it with medications or with surgery. Now, I'm very lucky that I have not really needed either. I will go into medications and stuff when I talk about my experience later, but I am very lucky I have not needed surgery or anything like that. I am constantly being screened for thyroid cancer because if you're someone who's perfectly healthy, you have a less chance of developing thyroid cancer as opposed to someone who has hypo or hyperthyroidism, because that organ's already damaged, so it's weakened anyway, so it has a higher chance of developing cancer. So I'm always being screened for it. I'm always having blood drawn as well. Exact causes of the actual disease are completely unknown. Doctors are not sure why. The things that can play a role are genetics. As I mentioned, it is genetic. Not every single person who has it inherited it from someone. There are two types though. It can be genetic or it can be just purely hormonal. So it can happen. A lot of women have issues with their thyroid once they've had a baby, or once they go through menopause, or if they just go through a really big hormonal change. So if someone does get diagnosed, say with endometriosis, a lot of issues with the thyroid do also coincide with issues with the reproductive system in women. I am not entirely sure in men. I don't know a man or a male that has a thyroid disease at all. I know plenty of women who have a low and a high active thyroid. I don't know a man who's been diagnosed with it. So if you're a male and you have a thyroid condition, let me know down below, because I would love to see some, or even just talk to someone ever, because I've never seen a man with it. Hormones play a great thing as well. So if you're someone who's born with a condition that also affects your hormones, I don't mean the thyroid already, but if you're born again with something in the reproductive system, things like that, particularly if you also have cysts or even tumors in the parts of your brain that control hormones, things like that can really affect your thyroid as well, because basically your brain will send your body's signal to release hormones, but it's up to your thyroid to release that hormone. So my brain is constantly telling my thyroid to send out hormones, but it never actually does. So it doesn't matter if the hormone goes straight back up to your brain. Like the hormones in your pituitary gland, that it still won't happen. It's like that receptor is blocked because my function is too low. So in someone who has a high active thyroid, it is on overdrive, so it's releasing too much hormones. So essentially the symptoms can be very much the same, and like I said, I will go talk about my symptoms in my experience at the end. Excessive iodine in the diet. So if you are taking other medications that have an excessive concentration of iodine, I'm not entirely sure what medications do have that in them, but I will put all of this information and other things down below as well, examples and things like that. So check out the description box down below as well, because I'm not entirely sure what medications that would be, or if you are consuming an excessive amount of iodized salt, that also can be a very bad thing. I hardly consume any salt, which is also bad because I need one of the treatments for a underactive thyroid is iodine treatments to raise the level back up, and I really don't eat anything with iodine in it, so it's probably my fault. And also radiation exposure. If you are someone who works as a X-ray, CT, MRI technician, if you are someone who works around nuclear plants, things like that, if you are a oncology specialist, cancer specialist, things like that, people who are always working around radiation, that can be a very big trigger, as well as radiation can be a trigger for a lot of other causes as well, not just thyroid conditions, but it's also another contributing factor. So that is basically the basic information. Go Google it if you really want to know anything else. That's just what I could fit into a quicker video. So my personal signs and symptoms that I have, some of these can be very mixed. I actually have symptoms from both ends of the spectrum. I have a lot of symptoms that coincide with a higher active thyroid and ones that coincide with a very low active one. So it is very confusing to my doctors sometimes. The past few years my hormone levels have actually been perfectly normal. Now I mean past 2 years. My doctor gives me a screening approximately every 2 months and they have been perfectly fine. So we are very sure as to why I'm still experiencing so many symptoms and things like that. So it's either my thyroid's working enough to send the hormones out but not working enough to control my symptoms. I don't know, it's really hard to explain because when your doctor doesn't know then it's even hard for you to know, etc. So I have seen specialists and they all keep discharging me because my levels are normal and they don't know what to do with me. My signs and symptoms, my biggest one is weight. I have pretty much from kindergarten onwards been a chubby child. But it wasn't until I got really sick when I was about 8 or 9 that I really started packing on the weight. It doesn't help the fact that my family was a very inactive household. If that's inactive, is that a word? I have no idea. It doesn't help, that doesn't help, or a very unhealthy diet, that didn't help either. Other factors didn't help, but I have always struggled. I have technically gone on diets, the proper diets from dietitians, about 4 times with little to no results. And now this is over the space of 6 months at a time with little to no results. We were originally going to get me the same surgery my mum had, the gastric bypass surgery, but because I don't pay for my own health insurance, we're going to be out of pocket for most of it, so I can't afford it. Seeing some of the issues my mum had after hers, it sort of made me think, is it worth it? I have, in the past month, started a very big change in my life in exercising and things like that. So don't worry, I do stuff. I'm not just sitting on my butt all day. I pretty much spend 1 day filming a week, if that. And that's all, that's it. Like I don't spend 1 day, I might spend 6 hours and film 3 videos and that's it. That's my videos done for the week. So I don't sit down all the time. Most of the time I sit down now is when I'm at TAFE. Fatigue, I am pretty much always extremely tired, unable to think completely straight. Always have been pretty much as long as I can remember. I never, okay, when I was like 3 and 4, I was like a very hyper running around child. But from, I want to say the ages of 9 onwards, my energy levels have been dropping more and more each year. The older I get, the harder it is I find to sleep. Insomnia is another big factor, another big symptom that I have. Insomnia and fatigue do go hand in hand. I learnt something a few weeks ago. There is a percentage, like 17% of the population, now the world population, can survive on less than 3 hours of sleep a night and still function normally. Now, I think that's me. I have never been a good sleeper. Pretty much, as I explained in my why I had surgery video, pretty much the 4 months after my recovery, I slept like a log, and other than that, I have always had trouble sleeping. It's extremely rare for me to fall asleep before 1 AM. Usually it gets to about 3 or 4 and then I'll fall asleep. Sometimes most nights I don't. I just roll around all night. I look like I'm asleep. My body might be asleep, but I'm really not. So I can still hear everything that goes on, still feel everything that goes on, things like that. It's like I will lay there, I will be nearly asleep and my body will jolt me awake anyway. So my body just won't let me sleep, literally at all. My doctor said there's nothing he can do. He's told me exercise, which I've done. I have tried everything. So if you guys would like me to do another video on the stuff I have tried for my sleeping issues, then I will eventually, but I just don't know what to do anymore. I've tried all the natural remedies. I've tried lavender, chamomile, I've tried drinking tea, cutting out alcohol, cutting out coffee, cutting out caffeine altogether, cutting out sugar. I tried everything over the past years and nothing has worked. Skin and inability to tan. Now, I am not the palest person on the planet, but I'm still within the pale spectrum. I find it very hard to buy foundations because I am so yellow. The Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless is pretty much the only foundation I can walk into the store, grab and use that works for my skin. There are some that I have that are just way too dewy. For some reason, matte foundations, which I need matte because my skin is so oily, matte ones don't come in lighter shades for some reason. I found the L'Oreal 24-hour matte foundation, the lightest shade. I have to be like fully tan to use. Estee Lauder Double Wear. There are a couple of shades lighter than the one I have because I was self-tanning when I used it, but it doesn't match me, things like that. I can't buy foundation to match. All the ones I have are very, very dewy, very glowy, things like that just don't work for me. And there are ones that match, but they're still too pale or slightly too dark, things like that. I used to be a very neutral tone, but I know now over the past 3 years I've got more and more yellow. Now you wouldn't know I'm yellow just sitting here. I do for the first time have a tan on my arms, particularly this arm, because I have been sunburnt a few times. I've been out in the sun a lot more this summer than I have previously, because the past 2 summers I was at work pretty much 5 days a week and inside. So, and the other 2 days I was doing nothing because I was either at school or I was just doing nothing because I was so tired from working 14-hour days. So, this is the first summer in a couple of years I've really got proper sun, so I am developing a slight tan, but even when you look at me under natural light, I am still very, very pale. I am more pale than what my camera makes me look. Another symptom that I have is a wacky menstrual cycle / infertility. Now, I have never had a baby, I have never tried for a baby, so I wouldn't know, but if you have a very, very wacky irregular cycle, then you are going to have infertility issues, which I do have. I have been put on the contraceptive pill to sort out my cycle, and it has worked perfectly fine. It has magnified my symptoms of my period, but it has helped 100%, so I now know when I'm going to get it. Sometimes, I think the longest I went without one was 6 months. I actually, as another sign in here that I have, I actually went through puberty at age 9, and from the age of 9 till 15 I had a cycle on the 10th of every month on the dot of 3 AM. I could tell the exact moment because I would get this spasm in my back and I would know 5 minutes later I was bleeding. So I could tell straight up when I got it. And then all of a sudden when I turned 16, it just stopped. It went so irregular and extremely heavy. That's enough TMI for now, but yeah, irregular cycles / infertility. Depression, I think it has to be there first. It can't just develop. Like, you have to have it sort of there, from what I have known, and from what I've seen in my research, that you sort of have to have that mentality anyway. It can't be just straight up, here you go, you got thyroid issues, you got depression now. But it also can happen because of the fluctuating hormones. So it does say as well on the little warning labels on my contraceptive pill, if I continuously miss pills, or if I take, say, every second pill, or if I miss more than 3 pills a month, it can make my hormones fluctuate enough that it can cause real bad mood swings. It can cause aggression, depression, and things like that. So that's why you have to be very careful to take it every single day. Otherwise, your fluctuating hormones can cause things like that. So if your condition is left untreated and your hormones fluctuate up and down, that can be a cause because you're never feeling fully fine. Hair loss. I shed hair like there's no tomorrow. If I had enough time, I could vacuum my bedroom every single day. I have that much hair. Because of my brother's skin condition, we cannot be continuously vacuuming our bedrooms and things like that every single day. We only have carpet in the bedrooms. We do vacuum the floors, but we wash them too, etc. I could vacuum my bedroom every single day. I lose that much hair. And I only brush my hair twice a day. And yeah, my hair just falls out. Clogs the shower every time. And my hair falls out all the time. I thin my hair out deliberately because a sign of a low active thyroid is a very thin hair, but I don't have thin hair at all. The amount of hair that falls out of my head, you would think I have very, very thin hair, but I don't. I would hate to see how thick my hair is if I didn't have my hair falling out as much as it does. And joint pain. Now, I do get some joint pain, but it's because I sort of used to chalk it up to the fact that I had previous injuries in those arms, in those joints and things. So you guys know I've actually broken my right leg 3 times. My right arm, I have torn the ligaments from my arm once, and my left hand. I've had many like slam car doors, fridge doors, dropping things on this hand many times, particularly while I was at work and things like that. So I get joint pain in my right foot, my right knee, my right hip, and my left hip from how I was walking in the moon boot and things like that. I get pain down my left leg because my body's used to me relying on that leg. I get pain in my arms because my arms are not used to me lifting heavy things, and I've just started using weights again. So I'm not sure if it is because of my lifestyle or because of previous injuries or because of my thyroid condition. I have no idea, but my joints do hurt. Not all the time, but sometimes. My right foot hurts more than anything because it's the worst. But I do get joint pain. Symptoms that I personally don't get that are a sign of a low active thyroid is a puffy face. Now, I personally don't think I ever really get a puffy face. No, it's not like your face and your eyes are puffy. It's more like the sides of your face, like where your wisdom teeth are, can puff up and things like that. Another name for it is moon face. A lot of people can get it when they have steroids like prednisone. They'll have what they call steroid face, moon face, things like that. So that's another type of, that's what I mean, not just, you know, like you've been crying type of puffy. Constipation, I don't get it. I have the opposite sometimes. Hair thinning, as I mentioned, my hair is as thick as anything, and I don't have thin hair at all. I don't have a thin hair on my head. And a slowed heart rate. I actually have pretty much the opposite. I have a very increased high heart rate and pretty much always have. Now, I never really had my heart rate documented much before my surgery when I was 18, but ever since I've had that surgery and I was revived the second time, my heart rate has pretty much been between 90 and 110 resting. So if I get up and walk around, it'll go up to 200. It's very common for me to just have my heart rate go up to 200. I know it's abnormal, but I've had that for a very long time. My issues with my heart have, a lot of people don't believe me and have chalked it up to me being overweight, but I've always had electrical problems with my heart. I have had tests done. They have confirmed I have problems with the electrical timing of my heart, but because I haven't had any bad symptoms, it's not really affecting my life at the moment or in the past few years. No one wants to do anything about it. So the doctors sort of told me, lose weight. If it's still happening, then we'll do something about it. My experience with this, I just have some dot points here I want to go through and let you know. I have mentioned a few of them, but a few others I haven't. This is just what I have experienced, particularly I'd say since I started high school. People are very judgmental and things like that, and I know maybe not this day, maybe not in 2017, 18, but more 2011, anyone would find an excuse to why they were fat. Oh, I've got a genetic condition. Oh, I've had injuries. I can't exercise. Oh, I don't have enough time. I'm too busy. I'm not motivated enough. Like, anyone would find a reason to not exercise. So it was very hard because people would assume that I didn't do anything, that I was extremely lazy, that I was overeating all the time. My first job, I worked at McDonald's at my local shopping centre. I arrived at school one day and there was a big rumour going around that I only got the job at McDonald's because I wanted the staff discount to eat all the food. And that is only why I worked there. I didn't want the money. I didn't want to have a job. I just wanted to work to eat. And I don't know really who started it. I have an ideas a couple of people had in mind, but yeah, everyone kept coming up to me and laughing and being like, oh, I heard from this person, and then the next person would be like, I heard from someone else, I heard from person A, I heard from person C, and it was really bad. Like, I didn't tell anyone because I just didn't care. I truly didn't care, but I mean, people were just assuming, and they didn't realize how much hard work I do put in to try and lose weight, and it just doesn't work. So another one is, no one really understands the irregular changes I go through. I fluctuate in my mental state probably more than anything else. I sometimes am so motivated for months. I will work out nearly every day. I will eat almost perfectly healthy. I will get my work done. I will have a clean room all the time. I will do anything. And then I will go through a period of like 3 months. I went through it just over Christmas, and it was the worst one I've had yet. It happens for about, I want to say 2.5 months. Once a year? Yeah, once to twice a year. I'm just angry all the time. I am pretty much depressed. I don't get my work done. I don't achieve anything. My whole body hurts. I just feel so run down and terrible. I feel like I practically get anxiety. Like I was this close to getting like a secret appointment to my doctor to tell him I thought I was depressed and had anxiety, because there was about 4 times I reined in a full panic attack. There was twice I was laying in bed overnight, and the other 2 times I was just sitting in the bath. Thank God there were times my mum wasn't home. There are times I truly felt depressed and just straight up horrible. I went through that period over Christmas. It was probably one of the darkest times I've been in. I didn't feel happy at all. Literally nearly every second of every day I could burst into tears at any moment. I always felt like crying. The amount of times I just had to stop and wipe my eyes, count to 10 and breathe just to not cry was insane. Like, my mental state fluctuates a lot. I noticed I first went through that in about the beginning of year 9, but I feel great. Like I feel so motivated. I look forward to doing my exercises now. My body craves it. I just can't wait to look good again. Like it's great. I feel so good right now. Like I am so happy. That's why I have filmed. This is my second video filming today, and I plan on editing nearly every video I have in my computer this weekend, because I'm getting things done. Like I'm ahead on my TAFE work at the moment. Now I can't remember the last time I was actually ahead on my work. Like I said earlier, a lot of people don't believe me. When I tell them I have a low thyroid function, because most people don't even know what it is. When I was diagnosed with it and I saw a specialist, when I was in year 9, so 2013. But most people didn't believe me when I told them that I had it, because I didn't look sick. Most people assume that when you have a condition that you look sick. It's not. It's what they call an invisible illness. Thyroid Disease Awareness Month is June. So I didn't know that. I thought it was May. It's actually June. So that's marked in my calendar. Not that I'm really big out in advocating, but that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this video, is to get awareness out there. My body didn't tolerate the medications I was given. I tried 3 different versions of Thyroxine, different brands, and the first time I ended up getting pretty much like whooping cough type of sick. I wasn't diagnosed with whooping cough, but I got a really, really bad cough. We figured it was probably the dairy in the tablets. The tablets were so small that we don't even know why. It's just the second I stopped that, I got better. The second one, my body reacted to really badly. I was just always itchy. My skin was always red, things like that. So I had that sort of reaction. And the third one literally didn't do anything at all. Didn't raise up my hormone levels, didn't work on me at all. My body doesn't absorb medications. I can't really take painkillers and have an effect. I was given morphine injections and morphine tablets before. I was given injections in the hospital when I had my nose done, because my throat was so bad. And they were hoping that the painkillers would calm my body down after being revived, because I was pumped full of epinephrine. And it literally didn't do anything. I didn't feel any form of pain relief. When I broke my foot, nothing worked. I tried prescription painkillers. I tried just over the counter like codeine based ones. I tried like cheap painkillers, so Aldi brand, Coles brand, Panamax, things like that. I tried Panadol brand. Now I've never responded to Panadol. The only thing that really made a difference was anything with Nurofen in it, and it wasn't even the pain relief part. It was more just like it reduced the swelling a bit. So the best things for me to take though are the Aldi ones. I basically can't swallow anything without chewing. My thyroid is not very big. It's not like my neck doesn't protrude out at the front here. My thyroid is not very swollen. Mind you, I haven't actually had a scan on it in about 4 years, but my thyroid itself is not very swollen that I know of. But always, I have never been able to swallow anything without chewing it. That includes tablets of any size, pills, whatever you call them, of any size. That includes food, anything, ice cream, yogurt, stuff as well. I don't really chew them anymore. I wait for them to melt. I can't swallow ice cubes, really anything. I've always tried to have chewable tablets, liquid form of medication. My body does actually absorb liquid form of medication, but it's really hard to find painkillers in liquid form for adults. And it's kind of embarrassing as well. So I just chew tablets. I just chew my tablets. I can, as long as I just bite and shatter it once, my body lets me swallow it. But I mean, my tongue will literally come up and stop my body from swallowing anything if I haven't swallowed it. If I haven't chewed it, sorry. And I have been yelled at and screamed at for hours by my mother because I can't swallow tablets. I remember when I was 9 and 10 trying to take painkillers. It took me nearly 4 hours to swallow it, and I was just bawling my eyes out because she just screamed at me like, swallow it. Just because it comes easy to her doesn't mean it comes easy to me. So that is one of the biggest things, is I can't really swallow tablets at all. Yeah, along with that, my throat constantly feels tight. You know, like that real tight feeling you get before you're about to cry? That's the type of thing. Now, I don't ever feel like I'm about to cry, but I mean, my throat always feels like that type of tight feeling. If I talk for more than, say, 10 minutes at a time, my throat actually starts to hurt. This is my second video I have filmed this afternoon, plus I've been talking all day at TAFE. My throat actually hurts pretty bad. Surgeon, when I had my nose done, looked at my tonsils while I was under, and he said they were perfect, nothing wrong with them at all. And so I actually think it's because of my thyroid. I can't even really wear high neck shirts. I don't wear chokers. I like to wear long necklaces. You see my shirt collar is down here. You'll hardly ever find me with a shirt that goes up here. I can't stand anything near my neck. I can't even really stand people massaging my shoulders. I don't even like people touching my face, things like that. Like here, I don't even like sitting with my hands like this anymore. It just feels wrong. Completely wrong. And if I have my thyroid taken out at the moment, because I am perfectly healthy with it, it's fine. It will cause me more problems than if it is really infected. So I have to wait till it's either cancerous, till it is killing me and things like that, to have it taken out, because after you have it taken out, you're on hormone replacement therapy for the rest of your life. Sorry, I had to get up and make my grandmother a drink. I had to turn my light on too, so I have no idea where I was up to. Don't know what I was saying. Oh, okay, yes. I was about to say, I always get hot / get hot easily. In the summer, I am barely ever like normal temperature. I don't mean take my temperature and see what my temperature is on a thermometer. I've never really had my temperature taken on a thermometer because ours has not had a battery in about 15 years. Every time I had my temperature taken in the hospital, which 18 months ago nearly, my temperature was really up because of the epinephrine and stuff like that, set my body into overdrive. So, and they had to put warm fluids through me to raise my blood pressure when it dropped, so that sort of didn't help at all. But I always get very hot. Particularly in the summer, I'm barely ever comfortable, cool, anything like that. Even in this house, we've got 2 air conditioners. We've got one in our kitchen that faces towards the rest of the house. We have another one in my grandmother's room which actually faces towards her. So it's like lined up with the wall behind me. It faces outwards. We should have had it put on the wall this side and have it so they face each other. But really it only cools out there. Yes, it cools down in here a little bit, but this room gets really hot because I get the direct sun through that window. When the sun rises and when the sun sets, the direct sun comes in through that window. And now my grandmother's room doesn't get it as much because she has the air conditioner straight in there. Her room gets really hot all the time because she says she's so cold, and she refuses to use a fan all the time because she feels like either it's going to catch on fire or she feels like she's on fire. So she always has her room stifling hot. So we tend to close the doors into her room. But yeah, it's like I'm hardly ever really normal. The only time I find I'm a little bit cold is if I'm driving my mum's car using her air conditioner. My air conditioner in my car is not cold enough for that because my car's orange and it's metallic and it's a metal body frame. It will absorb the heat a lot more. So my car is the same color as the sun. It's bright orange, so it attracts the light from the sun a lot more than even a white car and a black car does. My mum's car's white. She has an i30, Hyundai i30, and her air conditioner is amazing. The air conditioner that was in my Hyundai was amazing. It was probably the only thing that was actually worth it in the thing. I've always been someone that's had more of a red face than anyone else. I don't know if it's because my skin's extra sensitive, if it's because I've had so many bad sunburns, because I have the skin of a natural redhead, or because of my thyroid. I don't know. My guess is more that it is something to do with me being a natural redhead. I have that pale skin that tends to burn. And the last thing I also wanted to say is lately, the past few months, my hair's been starting to go grey. This in my roots here is pretty much my whole fringe and my roots here is my natural colour. Now if I go out in the sun, that is probably more accurate than what is on camera right now because I'm using my ceiling light, but I have noticed lately that my hair is no longer bright red in the roots. It's going more of a golden colour, and I'm getting increasingly more grey hair. So I don't know if my hair getting rid of the red tone is it taking its first step to going grey, like it's going dull, or what, but I've noticed my hair's beginning to go grey. That also could be a genetic thing because my dad started going grey by the time he was 20, and I am 20 in like 6.5 months. I am no doctor. You need to actually go see your doctor. I wanted to put it out there more in terms of my experience with it and things like that, not really to raise awareness, if that makes sense, or to really educate you. It's more just on my experience and things like that, and why I am like I am. So thank you everyone for watching this video. Give me a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button if you did like this video. I will be doing more of these videos in the future, and I hope you really enjoyed it. It was super casual, but I thought it was very informative. So yeah, I will see you in my next video. Bye.